This is Gair and Karunatillake, 1-4. We are on page 2 now of the G&T book, starting at the top, reading 4. You'll find a translation of this in Bhikkhu Bodhi, page 125, starting at paragraph 406, bracketed 13. You'll see at the top the word bhikkhu ... in brackets. That's because this is in a section with a whole lot of separate sentences, propositions, all beginning with bhikkhu, a monk. Namely, this is what a monk does. So the bhikkhu, the monk, anupannanam papaganam akusalanam dhammanam anupadaya chandam janeti vayamati viryam arabhati chittam paganahati padahati. So the subject of the sentence is the bhikkhu. The verb is janeti, and the object of that verb is chanda. Janeti, from our root, the root jan, which is cognate with the Latin gen, and of course the Greek gen, meaning to generate or to give birth, generation. Janeti is the causative form in Sanskrit. So it gives birth to, gives rise to, creates. So in Sanskrit it is janayati, and as usual the aya ending becomes an a there, so in Pali it becomes janeti. Chanda means a desire. The word itself is morally neutral. You could have a desire to do a good thing. Everyone who's watching this has a chanda, a very useful, I hope, and worthy chanda to learn Pali. So here we have the bhikkhu, chandam janeti. He gives birth to, gives rise to a desire. Desire for what? Anupadaya, that is for the non-arising. So upada, as in paticca samuppada, dependent, co-arising. Anupada, non-arising. The dative, it's desire for, desire towards, the anupadaya, a desire for the non-arising. We now have 4 things in the genitive plural here. The non-arising of these dhammanam, these conditions or states or things, preceded by 3 adjectives, all of course in the genitive plural, to agree with dhammanam. The arising of these dhammas, of these anupananam, unarisen, papakanam, evil or sinful, akusalanam, unwholesome or unskillful. The word papa is commonly translated as sin. It's the standard word for a sin, but it's generally evil. The word sin, of course, is a bit loaded in Western culture. It's broadly the same kind of thing in Sanskrit. When a modern Indian sees some Hindi speaker sees something he doesn't like, he says, "Wo bada paap hai," and that is a big sin. So these unarisen sinful akusalan thamanam, so chandam janeti, he gives rise to the desire, rouses the desire. Vayamati, he strives. Viryam arabhati. Viryam is from the root vira, which is cognate with the Latin vir, a man. So vira, Latin vir, so man, so we get virile and so on, In Sanskrit, the original meaning was just a man. Then it came to mean heroism, but with not necessarily a gendered sense. And virya, definitely not now with a gendered sense, just means strength or effort. One of the chapters in the Shantideva's Bodhicharya Avatara is about virya, about effort and the need to make an effort. Arabhati, the standard meaning of arabhati is actually to start or to begin, but in this kind of context, it means to arouse or to get it going. Chittam paganhati. Paganhati is a very interesting word if you enjoy complex grammar. The root is gra, alternatively, but they exist in parallel, grab. If grab looks like our English word grab, it's because it is. It means to take. It's what's known as a ninth class verb, so it inserts a na in the present tense. So the Sanskrit, the Arabic short softens to a re. So Sanskrit, he takes, it's not grahati, you'd expect to be grahati if it was a first class verb, but it's grihnati. There aren't many verbs that do that, but there are some. Grihnati, which then in Pali becomes what we've got here, ganhati. So Sanskrit pragrihnati, and so now becomes in Pali paganhati. That means that he takes it forth, he stretches it forth, forth, paganhati, pushes it forth. So chittam paganhati, it's their way of saying he applies his mind to it. He stretches out, he puts out his mind. And padahati. Padahati is from Sanskrit. Pradha just means to put forth. Pradha, forth or out, dha, put. And the idea is making an effort. Don't be confused. We know the word, there's the root dah, meaning to burn, and dahati, it burns. This padahati looks like it burns forth. In fact, it's not. It's from this word. In Sanskrit, pradadhati, in Pali, padahati. The next line then, Uppananam papakanam akusalanam dhammanam pahanaya chandam janeti vayamati viryamarabhati chittam paganhati padahati. The new word here, the rest of the words we've had, is pahanaya. And I think we've already had all the words in that one. Now on to the last line here. Uppananam kusalanam dhammanam titya asammusaya bhiyo bhavaya vepulaya bhavanaya paripurya chandam janeti vayamati viryamarabhati chittam paganhati padahati. So here again we have the bhikkhu. Chandam janeti arouses the desire for the pitya. This is actually the genitive dative now of a feminine noun ending in a t. So piti means standing, therefore continuation, steadfastness, hanging in there, standing in. asamosaya. The word asamosaya, asamoso, if you look in the vocabulary here, it says non-bewilderment or non-confusion. The Pali Text Society's dictionary for samosa gives bewilderment or confusion. Margaret Cohn hasn't got there yet. She's only got as far as volume 3 of her 5-volume work. So we have to rely either on the Pali dictionary or on our own readings. I'm going to have to stand up and say that the Pali Text Society and Gair and Karunatillake are simply wrong in saying that this means bewilderment or non-bewilderment. And I'll tell you why I'm saying they're wrong. There is the root mrish. And the basic meaning of that root is forgetting, neglectfulness, letting something decay through neglect. You have an indeclinable adverb, also used as a prefix, mrisha, which means uselessly or in vain, to no purpose, also then by extension falsely or even untruthfully. Mrisha in Pali becomes musa, and you'll remember from the precepts, one of the things you have to avoid is false speech, and that is musa vada, from this original root mrish. This mrish now with the prefix sam in front of it, let's make it now to a noun, samosa. This form samosa or samrisha is not attested in Sanskrit, but we find it in Pali. And being doubtful about the Gair and Karunatillake rendering, I did Google some and found some examples of it. And we have, for example, the sati samosa. For example, there's the phrase nati arahantanam sati samoso. Nati, there is not, arahantanam, of the arahants, a sati samoso, as a samosa of their sati. In other words, the arahants do not neglect or do not let their sati, their mindfulness, go. So it's nothing to do with bewilderment, it's letting go. And another phrase, sutta dhamma nasamosam gachanti, suma dhamma, the teachings they have heard, nagachanti samosam, do not go to samosa, in other words, neglecting them. So we should translate this as forgetfulness or neglecting of these kusalanam dhammanam. Now it's here, it's in the negative form, so he chandam janeti, as arouses the desire, for the asamosa, for the non-neglecting of these of the kusalanam dhammanam. The next thing, after asamosaya, the non-neglecting or non-abandoning, is that biyo bhavaya. Biyo means more or an increase. So the biyo bhava is the more making, so the increase of it. Vepulaya, so an abundance of it. Again, an increase of it. The adjective vipula, abundant, probably cognate vipula, filled out, vipula, outfilled. And you make an abstract noun by strengthening the itu e In Sanskrit, it's Vaipulya, which becomes Vaipulla in Pali. Bhavanaya, he Chandam Janeti for the Bhavanaya, for the Bhavana of all of these things. Bhavana is a word that you will frequently encounter. It is from the root bhu, to be, Sanskrit causative bhavayati, he causes to be, brings into being, and in the Sanskrit in Pali that aya becomes a, so it's bhaveti. So now you get the verbal noun is bhavana, which is the same in Sanskrit and Pali. Bhavana, the etymological meaning of it is to cause to be, to bring into being, and then also by extension to nourish something, to help it to be more. It's translated as development, I think it was here. Bhavana, data form, bhavana, development. It's more than development. It has this basic idea of creating, nurturing, helping to grow, making it grow, bringing it into being. With our metta, we have the metta bhavana, the bhavana of your metta. In modern Hindi, for example, it's used just to mean a prayer, in the sense of what you use for your own spiritual nourishment. Meri bhavana, my prayer is such and such. Paripurya. Paripurya, that's a feminine genitive. I don't have to learn that just yet. We have pura, meaning full. Pari, puri, is the fulfilling. It's paripuri, fulfilling. So for the fulfillment. Virimar arabhati, chittam paganhati padahati. So I think we have all those words now. What I'll do is I will read through this 4 slowly, and I hope clearly, and see if you can just follow it, what it means as I read it. Bhikkhu anupannanam papakanam akusalanam dhammanam anupadaya chandam janeti vayamati viryam arabhati chittam paganahati padahati. Uppannanam papakanam akusalanam dhammanam pahanaya chandam janeti vayamati viryam arabhati chittam paganahati padahati. Anupannanam kusalanam dhammanam uppadaya chandam janeti vayamati viryam arabhati chittam paganahati padahati. Uppannanam kusalanam dhammanam titya asammusaya bhiyobhavaya vepullaya bhavanaya paripurya chandam janeti vayamati viryamarabhati chittam paganhati padahati. That's it for lesson 1, section 4. We resume with 1.5.